we talked about it a little bit um, during the gameplay, but the National Radio Quiet Zone is a 13,000 square mile stretch of land in West Virginia where there's no radio signals, there's no Wi-Fi. Um, Everything that has to do with technology is um, it's very limited. So like I said, there's no radio stations, there's no Wi-Fi, there's like computers, but everything's like hardwired. Um, there's no cell phones, quote unquote, no cell phones. They're not supposed to be any cell phones. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it, right? As far as
Uh,
like what's not allowed, I mean,
yeah. Basically, anything that generates like electromagnetic waves
right,
isn't allowed.
right,
I think even down to I was reading something that said a lot of the vehicles in that zone actually run on diesel
right.
because gas. Wait, did you already talk about this?
No,
Okay,
I was reading.
because sorry, I was trying to adjust my audio.
No, you're fine.
So yeah, a lot of the vehicles are diesel based because gas engines utilize spark plugs, and for some reason, spark plugs generate like small traces of electromagnetic waves.
Mhm.
I'm not really sure the science behind that. I don't know why that's the case, but yeah, a lot of the vehicles are diesel based.
That's interesting because diesel trucks you have to charge. Like you have to plug them in the winter. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
I'm not sure if it's all diesel trucks, but I know a lot of like the newer trucks, they you have to plug them in so that like in the winter, the idea is you plug them in, and then whenever you get in them, it's already warm. The engine's already warm, so it's like already you don't have to like wait for like it to heat up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, that's interesting. I didn't read that they were diesel, but that's interesting. Hmm. Hmm. So yeah, basically, like you said, anything that's going to give off electromagnetic waves is basically a no go. And the reason for that is the it is near an NSA facility that they can't have any kind of like interference. The National Radio Astronomy Observatory telescope is the name of what it is, and it's like they can't have any any kind of there can't be anything that's going to restrict or infringe upon what they're trying to accomplish with you know um gosh with trying to research is the word I'm looking for. So they make it so that nobody around can have this these Wi-Fi networks, no cellular networks, any kind of electromagnetic field. So that can't happen there because of the uh, telescope.
Yeah, so I think originally when this area was established, it was because I think it's like nestled around some mountains, in between some mountains, so you get sort of like a natural barrier.
Mhm.
And at the time it was created, there just really wasn't a whole lot there. And since that time, it's kind of been built up into its own little town. So, um, there are people who live there who work, the scientists who monitor these, uh, you know, are they not satellite? Were they just like dishes,
Yeah,
like telescopes,
yeah, it's like a satellite
um,
dish basically.
satellite dish? Yeah. But over time, other people have moved there as well. So it's kind of it's definitely built up from what it was.
Hmm.
It's a bustling little town, but yeah, they people when you move there, you actually have to sign a contract all the land there is owned, so you're renting land when you move there.
Mhm.
But you have to sign a contract just saying that you basically, here's all the things that you can't have, because it'll interfere with the research that's going on there. So it's
Right.
pretty interesting.
Yeah, and it's interesting to note though that we say that they built it up, but there's a lot of stuff that they still don't have. Like, I don't know if you read this, but there's no grocery store, there's no hospital in this.
Really,
Yeah, in this town, there's like there's nothing
I thought
near.
there's like a church though and a library, but
Yeah,
no
but
grocery store.
there's no grocery store. There's because I was reading it in one of the articles that I sent you, and she's like, it's we'll get we'll get to that. But no, there's no grocery store. There's no hospital. You have to drive really far away for those things. Um,
That's so interesting.
so
And I know that. So when I was looking at pictures of it, it's obviously still most of it's very rural,
yeah,
and there were farms. People owned animals, so I'm sure a lot of the people who live there also sustain off of their own, like either animal or
mhm.
produce.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's it's very so to put this into perspective for you guys. The town of Green Bank, West Virginia, has, as of 2013, 147 residents. That's it, 147. And um, so when you the job market there is very competitive, so they almost have to like fend for themselves to a certain extent. Um, but also they don't. This is another interesting thing I thought was really interesting is that so there's no grocery store, no hospital, whatever, right? But some of these people
Mhm.
don't even have a refrigerator.
Wow.
Some of them
Well,
don't have running
which is
water.
interesting because I mean we talked about all the stuff they can't have, but I mean there's still electricity, there's like landlines, right?
Mhm.
So they still have telephones, it's just landline. They've got internet, right? It just has to be like hardwired, like Ethernet.
Yeah,
So it's not like they're completely removed from society, but it's almost like this mindset of, oh, well, if there's no Wi-Fi, like they're just taking it like even a step further, right?
yeah.
Like we're gonna live as simply as possible.
Do you think the like not having running water is due to the fact that if they had running water, they would require a water treatment plant, and that would cause more uh, electromagnetic waves?
um, I don't know. I'm not sure. Potentially. I mean, let me see. Because I didn't come across that when I was researching it. Um, Coven Productions, thank you for the follow.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
understand the no refrigerator, because they were saying that some of the people will fill up like an ice box every day to keep their cold stuff cold.
yeah, it. I mean, maybe they're. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Hmm, I don't know. That's an interesting one, um, but it's definitely a very odd place. And I mean odd as in some of it's odd to me because I don't live like that. You know, I'm sure if
Yeah,
you lived there, if you grew up there, it's normal and it's just that's how you live your life. But they were saying I was reading that these kids grow up and they leave, the National Radio Quiet Zone. They leave Green Bank and then they come back and it's like they they think it's like the Stone Age. It's like the age of dinosaurs. So it's got to be kind of almost like the Amish and Rumspringa, where they go off to sow their wild oats and then they just go hog wild with it. Does that make sense?
Maybe. I just like, I mean, yeah, it's not what we have like in a normal, like, I guess society, but it's not that different. Like, it's not so far outside of what we have that it's funny to hear that kids like leave and then come back and they're like,
Yeah.
because I don't know. I mean, it's definitely like if there were no phones, like if there was no internet access, which maybe, I mean, if some people don't even have fridges, maybe a lot of people just don't have internet access.
Hmm.
I know at least the scientists probably have it for their work, but maybe the people who live there just don't.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's hard to, if the job market there is very competitive, because of the limitations, I mean, maybe people just can't afford it. That could be another
Could be.
reason why.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah,
I didn't think about that aspect of it because I
yeah.
know I was reading that people, more people are moving there, um, which I guess is probably a good segue into our main topic of the night. But people are moving there and they kind of like hate it. The residents that are already there, they kind of hate new people. They're
That
very,
more people are moving in.
yeah, because it's so competitive. They don't have. It's almost like they don't have enough for these new people.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, I guess that gives brings us to our main topic, which is biscuit
Electrosensitives.
electrosensitives. All right,
So,
go ahead.
yeah, I mean, a lot of times most of our topics kind of revolve around myths or urban legends or conspiracies. And, the National Radio Quiet Zone is pretty like inconspicuous. Like it's legit, right? I mean, scientists are living there just studying outer space, and there's not a lot to it like inherently,
I'm really
but
sad about that. I want you to know that I'm
I
really
know
sad
I
about
was
it.
expecting more like, mystery surrounding this, but there really wasn't.
Yeah,
But it led us to something else that was really interesting, which is the case of people who identify as electrosensitives.
right.
Do you want to kind of talk a little bit about what that
Yeah,
entails?
yeah. So electrosensitives are people that believe. I don't know a better way to put it than other than they believe it. Um,
Yeah.
but they believe that electric waves, like Wi-Fi signals, cell phone signals, radio waves, stuff like that, they believe that they cause them physical pain. They make them ill. They can be the cause for people's heart conditions, headaches, nausea, any slew of symptoms that you might think of. They believe that these radio waves and electromagnetic waves are the cause of those issues. Um, and so this place where they don't allow hardly any, if any, of those waves is perfect for them because they don't have to. They live a normal life where they don't have to be bothered by anything. And some of these people even go as far as to say, like, well, lights, like um, fluorescent lights, will cause issues with their body. Um, so that's what they believe.
Yeah, so here's a quote from someone who believes that they have this condition. So she says, "In a Wi-Fi place, I'd feel sick to my stomach. I'd lose all energy and have pins and needles. It would get really bad in the middle of the day when cell phone usage was peaking. Then I'd go to the beach where there was no reception, and within minutes, my symptoms would be gone." So
Yeah,
and that's pretty consistent across all of the cases that I read about is a lot of it is like feeling sick, lethargy or losing energy. And then like pins and needles, that was very common, sort of like prickling of the skin.
Mhm.
Um, and it's just really interesting. You know, I when I was watching this, it's really easy to sort of, I think, write people off almost.
Mhm.
And in fact, a lot of the people who describe these symptoms, they're like, people think I'm crazy because they don't understand, what I'm going through. And can I say whether or not it's, well, I guess what I'll say is I think there's debate as to whether or not this is real in
Mhm.
terms of their symptoms are obviously very real because they are suffering and it impedes their daily tasks,
Right.
right? So their symptoms are real, but the question is whether or not this is actually occurring from electromagnetic waves.
Right.
The World Health Organization has done multiple studies, and they are basically saying, as far as we know, the tests that we've done, electromagnetic waves, in these concentrations should not have any effect on humans.
Right.
But they do admit that people are experiencing real symptoms.
Right. Right. They basically say, we don't know what's causing it, but it's not electromagnetic waves. And
Mhm.
then these people's response to that is, well, I don't care what your study says, I know my body, you
Yeah.
know? And it makes sense that you would find a correlation between electromagnetic waves and the symptoms if as soon as you take away those waves, the symptoms slow down or completely stop. So
Mhm.
it makes sense that you would put two and two together and say, this is the cause, therefore I need to cut out the cause so I can live a normal life. Um,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
and it's
but
fairly prevalent. I saw that I think it was either Denmark or Sweden. They since the 1990s, they've been, like supplementing people with these symptoms or helping them out. I think the UK has done it as well, and some other European countries. But it's prevalent enough that, you know, I guess countries around the world are kind of taking notice of it and trying to help or at least compensate people who can't go about their daily lives
right,
in a normal functioning society with these symptoms.
yeah,
Um, and it's honestly not something that I ever heard about until I started looking into the radio quiet zone.
mhm.
But it's a lot more prevalent than I realized.
Yeah. And here's so it's funny that you mentioned that like other countries are trying to find ways to kind of appease these people, like alleviate their symptoms and stuff. Because I was reading that citizens of Green Bank, West Virginia, are like going out of their way to treat these people like garbage.
Really?
Yeah, like to the point where here, let me see if I can find it. They, like I said, they don't want them around, um, and they make it very well known to the point where someone said that they put a dead groundhog in her mailbox. Um,
That's
they
so sad.
they like take stuff from her porch, like packages and stuff. They take stuff. They make it very well known that they do not want those people in their town. Now, whether that's because of their ailments or because there's just not enough job opportunities, and so they're
Mhm.
like trying to push them out to make it easier for themselves. It's probably the latter, if I had to guess. But it's just a very different take on the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's so interesting because I don't know. Obviously there are scientists that live there, And I would be interested to know how many of the people who live there, besides the scientists who work, like just live there to live there,
Yeah.
right? Because it's only 150 people. Like it's not that it's not people.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe the people who live there are just worried about it becoming, I don't know, growing in population.
Yeah.
Maybe to the point where they build a grocery store, and that would just be
Right. Yeah.
unacceptable.
Yeah. Here it is right here. They tell them we don't want your kind of people here. Just
What
right
does
up
that
front.
mean?
Right up front. She was banned. This lady was banned from the radio observatory for bringing up radiation issues at a town meeting. Um, Her tires were punctured in the night more than once. Trying to think,
That's
trying to see what all else I can see here. Um,
that's so sad because when you see interviews with these people, like again, I'm not gonna debate whether or not, you know, what they're suffering from is electromagnetic waves.
right,
They're obviously experiencing something.
right,
And it's terrible because a lot of these people are like, I can't go outside. I live in my room. I have to like line the walls with special stuff. Like they literally can't go outside or do anything. And then you hear about them moving to this town and just getting like trapped.
yeah,
And that's just really sad.
yeah. It's really messed up. That these people all they want to do is live like a normal life. Not in pain, because, like you said, they're being affected by something, whether it's the radio waves, magnetic waves, or something totally different. Something's happening. So
Yeah.
all these people want to do is live a normal life, and they go to this place where it's like their paradise. It's their place, and they get
Yeah.
treated like garbage when they're the ones that are sleeping. Like I read that one lady sleeps in a silver like shirt, like actually made out of silver, like
Oh,
silver
no.
threads, because it,
Yeah.
it decreases the amount of electromagnetic waves that enter her body at night. And so, like, think about taking it to that extreme, to where you're wearing like special shirts, and these people are just like, we don't want you, get out. Like, here's a dead groundhog.
Yeah, I guess so. There's kind of another side to that argument that I want to examine. So
Okay.
we're kind of looking at, these electrosensitive people coming into the radio quiet zone seeking relief from their symptoms.
Mhm.
But I came across this story um, about there apparently there's apparently a large group of um, activists. So I guess it's called electromagnetic. It's electromagnetic hypersensitivity. So EHS is like officially what they say they
Right.
suffer from. But yeah, there's a group that was organized back in 1996, and they protest and they've been like suing people for use of like Wi-Fi networks and the effects that they've had. So like so this is talking about the guy who started the organization, but basically in 2010 he sued his neighbor. They were living in Santa Fe. He sued his neighbor for the effects of basically the neighbor's Wi-Fi on him, right?
Mhm.
So he's like, "Man, my neighbor's using Wi-Fi. I'm suffering all these negative effects. I'm just gonna sue my neighbor for Wi-Fi usage."
Right.
So you kind of have like this spectrum of people where some of them are just like tired and exhausted and they just want relief and they're trying to find somewhere they can live in peace. And then you have other people that are very vocal about their symptoms and what they believe they are experiencing
Yeah.
and trying to like change regulations and have more research done, and they're kind of like spreading the word of EHS.
Right.
essentially. But I mean, they say, according to surveys that they've done, it says 1 to 4% of the world's population believes that they're affected. So
Yeah.
I don't know how many people. That's a lot considering the world's population, even at 4%.
Yeah.
But there you go.
Yeah. I no. I mean, you're right. It is like a spectrum of people. You know, there's people that want to. There's definitely people that want to just live their lives in, you know, without pain. But then, like you said, there's also those people that seem to kind of want to almost like throw it in people's faces nonstop. Like, well,
Yeah.
you need to like cater to me because I have all these issues. And first of all, that's not the way to go about it. Second of all, there's no conclusive evidence that, you know, the Wi-Fi signals or the electromagnetic fields are the cause of your symptoms. So it's like, why should we have to cater to you? Um, I don't know. It's all really interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I can see how it would be frustrating if you firmly believe that that's what you're suffering from
Hmm.
and the entire world is like runs on, the opposite direction. We everything's on Wi-Fi, everything's, electromagnetic waves everywhere, and it would suck. It would be frustrating. So like I kind of get it, but it's I don't know, it just brings up a lot of questions about, our Wi-Fi usage in general.
Yeah, that's the way I almost took it. Is like it almost it almost seems like a real life examination of like addiction to technology. You know,
Mhm.
we as a society have become so accustomed to having technology literally at our fingertips in the form of a smartphone. But not only that, our cars run on electricity. Um, you know, lights. Like I said, the water treatment plants run on electricity. Everything runs on electricity, and with that, it gives off some sort of a wave. You know, like you were saying with cars having the spark
The
plugs.
spark plugs, yeah.
So it almost seems, and then that's what one lady said was that it's like we invented the electromagnetic fields because they weren't here before. You know, like
Yeah,
they're not natural, I guess is the best way to put it.
well, so the Earth, there are natural electromagnetic waves.
Right.
And there are, I mean, that's what birds use to navigate. I mean, a lot of animals use it for, yeah, navigation or mating or whatever. And, those are levels that anything living on the earth would be used to. But
Right.
yeah, everything that we've created, Wi-Fi wise, all of this like all of these top level electromagnetic fields are at levels not found in nature, right?
Right.
So yeah, it's not unknown in the natural world, but we have reached a point where it's unnatural levels
Right.
essentially. Yeah.
Right. Is that's what I was trying to get at. Yeah. It's like
Yeah.
there's stuff out there, but it's not like, you know, a cell tower every, you know, however many miles to the point.
Mhm.
Like it's not to that point. That's natural. Um,
Yeah.
so do you want to jump into the nocebo effect?
Yeah, I just want to make one more point,
Okay.
because protagonist in chat brought up an interesting question. He said he wonders if those people, the electrosensitives, have any specific, like a certain medical history that would make them more susceptible, or like if there's a different kind of link between the sensitivity.
Hmm.
So from what I saw, it's not an answerable question. So there's some people who think it is hereditary, and there are other people who think that um, if you were exposed to a high level of electromagnetic radiation at some point in your life, it kind of like spurred this negative reaction.
Mhm.
And then other people think it's just a matter of how the body processes the electromagnetic waves,
Mhm.
that some people just aren't able to process it as well as other people.
Yeah.
So there's really no like standard answer.
Right.
Um, but those are kind of the theories that are out there.
You know, it's interesting because I don't know if, you know, for the longest time, there was this thought that if you have a pacemaker on your heart, right, you can't be around microwaves, you
Yeah.
know, because it would mess with the pacemaker and cause it to be, off beat or whatever you want to call it, and it could cause you to have another heart attack. So I wonder if it's something along those lines, like for the longest time. Okay, so but okay, so with the pacemaker and the microwave thing, we've gotten past that at this point. You know, like our pacemaker technology uh has grown far enough to where it's okay for people with pacemakers to be near microwaves. So I
Mhm.
wonder if um, maybe prior to that, when stuff was still not advanced as it is now, maybe something happened to someone in their family that caused the issues to arise with like the nausea, the headaches, all that stuff.
Mhm.
And then from then, it became hereditary. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sort of. I can't say that I know if that's how that stuff works.
I don't know if it is either. I was just posing a question.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, I mean, maybe.
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. We don't know.
Nobody knows, apparently. Not even the top scientists in the world know.
Yeah.
Maybe I just
But
cracked
yeah.
the case.
But no, let's hop into the nocebo effect.
Okay. So the nocebo effect is the opposite of the placebo effect. So the placebo effect, for those of you who do not know, you believe that something's ailing you, you take medicine, and then you take quote unquote medicine, and then you feel better because you believe that you feel better. You believe that you're cured because you take it as medicine. So the nocebo effect is that something happens to you and you believe that it is making you sick. So in this case, the electromagnetic fields are causing these people to be sick. Even though there might not be anything there that could cause such a thing, it's the reason that they are getting sick, that they have rashes and headaches and nausea and everything like that. Um, yeah, I thought that was interesting. I thought that the idea of a nocebo effect was interesting.
Yeah, it's when you sent me that article, it's something that I kept in mind when I was reading about people who were talking about their experiences with electrosensitivity. And
Yeah.
it's funny because a lot of them, not all of them, but a majority of them were like, yeah, I was suffering from all these symptoms. And there was one woman who said, at first I thought I was having really bad like crowd anxiety. And she's like, I couldn't figure it out until one day my friends mentioned that I might be suffering from electrosensitivity.
Hmm.
And so it's just kind of like, again, I'm not yeah, I can't say, these people are definitely suffering from something, right?
Right.
But it's just interesting to hear that a lot of them were like, "Oh, I didn't know what it was until my friend told me that it might be this."
Yeah, or until they read it
Right?
online.
Yeah,
You
yeah, and,
know,
it's not this definitely isn't the only thing that happens this way, right? I mean,
just
even if I'm sick and I go to search my symptoms, it's the what's that website?
WebMD.
Yeah, it's like the WebMD effect, right?
Yeah. Although
Like,
WebMD just tells you you have cancer. Like, well, I
right.
stubbed my toe. I have cancer, I guess. Um, but no, let's for a moment let's pause on that. That they hear it from a friend or they read it online. Like you read it online on the thing that's causing electromagnetic wave that could be causing you pain to find out that you might have this disease.
Right.
It just it's just one of those things that it makes me laugh, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I read about this nocebo effect, and it kind of makes sense. I say that because I've never felt anything like what they're talking about. Um, but I don't know what the idea of a placebo or nocebo or whatever in and of itself is based off of your own mind. Like you have to
Mhm.
believe it. So do you think that maybe these people are believing that they're in pain and then be, they actually are in pain because they believe it?
Oh, I mean, there there were just a lot of people who talked about experiencing symptoms and they didn't know what to attribute the symptoms to.
Hmm.
So I feel like it's something that exists. And obviously I don't ever want to downplay someone who says that they're suffering from something.
Right.
Um like because I've been there. It sucks. It's frustrating when you don't know what's wrong and no one else can figure out what's wrong either, right?
Hmm.
So I think they are suffering from something. I just I don't know, it's just hard to say whether or not it's electromagnetic waves, you know?
Hmm.
Um, but they just seem so there's just so many well, I don't know. There's so many people who suffer similar symptoms and really just feel like when they are out of range of Wi-Fi and other electromagnetic waves, that life is just so much better for them.
Hmm.
So I don't know what the extent of the nocebo effect is, you know? Like
Right.
how long would it last? Could they like self-perpetuate this, you know, I don't know. It's just it's that's a difficult question to answer.
Fair enough.
I feel like I'm just babbling, but it's
You
I
are.
think that they're suffering real symptoms. I just
Okay.
don't know what to attribute it to.
Okay.
So I don't know if that would fall under the nocebo effect or not.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. I think that, like you said, I think that they're suffering from something. I don't know if it's the, you know, electromagnetic waves, or if they're just believing it to be true so that it is true.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. Um, I do know that I think I think that if being away from the electromagnetic magnetic fields, if being away from them helps them to feel better, then I'm all for it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I think you should be more, not necessarily you, but I think
me.
they should be more accepting of these people and not send them dead groundhogs or puncture their tires or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, if even if it just gives them a peace of mind, you know what I mean? Like, even if it just makes you mentally feel better about your situation and the things that you're going through, then why not let them do it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I honestly don't understand the mentality of the people who are living in the radio quiet zone. And I don't know if that article you found really goes into that
Not
depth.
really. It just
Yeah,
talks
it's
about them.
like, is it I mean, we could guess whether, whether or not it's because they don't want their jobs taken, they want to keep their town as it is, they don't want it to grow. It could be any number of things, but it's just such a strange mentality. Um, I just didn't expect that, I guess.
Yeah, and I think the part that is really rough for me to understand is like I get that you don't want your jobs taken. You know, it's a town of 147 people. I imagine jobs aren't that, easy to come by. But at the same time, it's also a 13,000 square mile stretch.
Right?
You know, it's not like it's a small area.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not huge by any means, but that's also not like ungodly tiny. Um, so if you aren't, I've never been there. I haven't seen pictures of like, I've seen pictures of the town, but I haven't seen pictures of like getting to the town. So I don't know how far away something else is. Um, like I don't know where. I guess what I'm trying to say is within the 13,000 mile square, 13,000 square mile section. I don't know where the village or town or whatever you want to call it sits. You know,
Mhm.
um, so I guess my thought process is couldn't the people that aren't having those issues couldn't they just drive elsewhere to get a job? I mean, if their job got taken, but also you got to think like if you have more people, it could open up more opportunities because they could open up their own businesses. You know what I
Well,
mean?
yeah, that's why I was questioning their status within the town because, like I said, obviously there are the scientists who live there because they work um, at the labs and at they work with the satellite dishes. But like, you know, are there? I assume that not all of those people are scientists, right?
I would assume
So
not.
how did they end up there? How long have they been there? Is it like a generational family thing? Like my father owned this land and, I don't want outsiders coming in. It's just like such a weird situation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's almost um like the 60s. It sounds bad, but it's almost like the 60s in like the South. You know, the 50s and 60s in the South where they were just like they didn't want anybody that was different. They didn't want
Yeah.
anybody that wasn't already there. Um,
Yeah.
they wanted their own people. You know, it's like I I could understand it if it was turning into a tourist attraction to like not want that type of attention. Um, but these are people that are trying to get away from something that's alienating them.
Mhm.
I think that's where I have a hard time like sympathizing with these residents.
I wonder if it's so the land is government owned.
Right.
So I wonder if is it like an official town? Is there a mayor or is it all like government mandated? Like who gets to decide what happens in the town?
There's got to be a mayor because I was reading that they had town meetings about stuff.
Oh, okay. So the people who live there do talk to each other and they run it like a normal town, it sounds like.
Yeah. Now whether it's
Yeah.
actually like I mean I guess it could just be like a group of people that are like, "Hey, let's have a meeting about what we want for the town." But at that point like how much control do they really have? You know what I mean? Like how
Yeah.
do does the government really give a crap what these people do and do not want?
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I guess in the end, that's something that they need to work out, but just like a strange tidbit from this like electrosensitive uh topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, apparently people left because it's now 143 as of 2010.
Oh, maybe.
Oh no,
Well,
never
hopefully it
mind.
was the
Now it's
people who
going
were
up to 257.
Oh, so like as of now it's 257?
Yes, as of 2020.
That's a pretty significant increase. That's
Yeah.
like over 100 people.
Well, from this is crazy. From 2012, 2013, it went from 180 to 103, all the way down to 93, and then all the way up the next year from 2014 to 2015, it went from 93 to 223.
That's such a weird
That's
transition. I wonder if some of that again also has to do with the scientists.
yeah.
Like I feel like they're just sort of a an outlier in the town.
They're also like 58% of the people are in poverty. So
Okay, so that
sad.
that goes back to one of my other points is that if there are limited jobs, some of them just might not be able to afford certain things.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Hmm.
I don't know. It's all a very interesting subject. That
I guess if you're independently wealthy and you would like to live in a Wi-Fi free zone, you know, feel free to check out the Radio Quiet Zone.
yeah, in Green Bank, West Virginia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if you're independently wealthy and would like to support the town, I'm sure they wouldn't be against that either.
Or if you're independently wealthy and would like to move me to the Radio Quiet Zone,
Yeah.
I am all for it because looking at the pictures, it looks gorgeous.
If you would like to buy me a vacation home in the Radio Quiet Zone,
I'm here for it.
send me a DM. I'm up for
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Hit me up. Hit me up
Let's
real
talk
quick.
about details.
Yeah. Um, but I think so. When I first suggested the National Radio Quiet Zone, I was really hoping for something weird, something creepy.
Yeah.
Um, I figured it just seems like the type of place that would have a conspiracy surrounding it.
Yeah. Like even if it was a newer conspiracy or I mean you have scientists, you have like a weird low population town, no Wi-Fi, like
Yeah,
yeah, it just makes that's like the perfect formula for something weird.
right. And to say that there's not, I was at least a little bit disappointed at first. But then we came up with this idea, with the electrosensitives and stuff. And I gotta say, it's pretty interesting to talk about and read about.
Yeah, I mean it's a little bit different than what we usually talk about, but you know, I think a lot of times at least when we're um on more of the science side of things,
Hmm.
we always have it always generates interesting questions and I guess it's a little more thought provoking.
Yeah,
But I think, that's kind of what I got out of this is there are people who feel like they're suffering from these electromagnetic waves. It is obvious that the levels of the levels of electromagnetic waves that we're producing are not natural. Could there be some sort of hidden drawback that we just haven't stumbled upon in the research that we've done? Because honestly, like the age of Wi-Fi just kind of like popped into existence,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like for a long time there was nothing and then all of a sudden there was this explosion of Wi-Fi. Um so, you know, questions I'm not saying, either way, but it's just it brings up thought-provoking questions about the safety of the safety of progress, I guess, right?
right,
Technological progress.
right. No, I get you.
Yeah.
Hmm. I don't know. It's very. It makes sense that there would be things that we haven't discovered regarding the Wi-Fi signals and all that stuff, because it happens all the time. People they're sensitive to light. They're sensitive to all these different things, smells, stuff like that. So why not electromagnetic magnetic waves? Like why not?
Yeah.
So I don't know, but that's all I got. You got anything else?
Nope.
All
That's
right.
it.
Well, I appreciate you hanging out with me tonight.
Yeah.
Thanks for the games.
Yeah. Games and another awesome TinBiscuit episode.
Awesome. Yes. Um,
Um,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, in terms of TinBiscuit episodes, these happen every other week. If you guys are new here, but we are always open to topic ideas. If you guys have any ideas that you want us to consider, you can send either I or Tin Man a message. And do you want to give a shout out for our social media if you want to send a
Yeah.
message there?
So on Twitter, it's at TimBiscuitR, or you can email us um, at timbiscuitreviews@gmail.com. And I check
Definitely.
it very frequently, every day, in fact, just to make sure I'm not missing anything. So if you need to get a hold of us, if you want to give a idea, questions, comments, concerns, whatever, uh, I'll get back to you guys as soon as possible.
Yep. And if you have an idea for a creepy or creepy story, urban legends, myth, um, uh, or theory, let us know.
Yeah, but
Yep.
that's all I have. I
All
appreciate
right.
you guys for hanging out with us and listening to us babble. But I hope you
Yep.
guys have
Thanks,
a good night.
everyone.